The millionaires and the billionaires need to pay their fair share in California. At least that's the plan with a new 2026 California billionaire tax. We're going to talk about it today. We have a concrete wealth tax that we're staring down the barrel of this coming November. That's assuming it gets the signatures needed to qualify for the ballot, which is apparently 870,000. The Service Employees International Union, which has about 2 million members, they are, I think, the leading proponent of this proposed ballot measure in California. This is a one-time tax of 5% on the wealth of California residents who are worth over $1 billion. So let's talk about it.
Why is it only one time? That's what I want to know.
That's a great question.
Easier to get it passed, for anything like income
tax.
Is it? It seems like it should be, right? They would oppose it less.
I feel well, sure. I guess, if you're worried about suddenly becoming a billionaire, then you wouldn't want that tax to exist in the future, maybe?
So I have an argument that I think they would make of why it's a one-time tax. They're trying to make this undodgeable. And once it's a recurring tax, then it makes sense to leave the state so that you don't have to pay it. But the residency date is retroactive. It is Jan 1st, 2026. So that's also likely to be legally controversial, but the point of it is to make it so you can't just dodge it. So maybe that's why it's a one-time only tax. I think it's also, reading the beginning of the bill, is it a bill? I don't know. It was 40 pages.
It's a proposition.
Or something.
Ballot proposition. It's good. Yeah. It's trying to be a ballot proposition.
Right. It's an initiative.
Proposition for a proposition.
Yeah.
That's right. So reading through it, the justification for this bill is that it's almost like a retaliation for the big, beautiful bill in a way. It's like we're having budgets slashed for social services in California, and we need to recoup the money, basically.
Also, taxes were cut in the big, beautiful bill. They're not paying their fair share.
Exactly.
So
There's
this, at least locally, going to try to get them to pay more of their fair share.
Right. It's trying to undo this large wealth redistribution away from our social safety net to billionaires. It seems very retaliatory or meant to kind of cancel that out. So those are kind of the reasons why I think they made it a one-time bill. One of my issues with it is, as a one-time bill, it doesn't really fix the tax code, right? It doesn't bring long-term fairness to our tax system. But anyway.
But what does it bring us? What do we get?
Backers of the bill said it would generate $100 billion in revenue. I did some math, and that was not what my math guessed. So here's what I did. 186 billionaires in California, according to Wikipedia. Worldwide, there are 3,028 billionaires worth a total of $16 trillion. Beep, boop, beep, boop. That means an average net worth of $5.3 billion per billionaire. So if you do that math, that you take 5% of each of their net worths, then that would give you $50 billion. Now, maybe the billionaires in California are richer than the other global billionaires.
Definitely true, dude. Number 2 richest guy, right? Larry Ellison lives in California, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, where's the number 1 richest guy live?
I don't know. Where does Elon live these days?
Texas, yeah.
But I would believe that California billionaires are richer on average because they've got software money.
Cost of living is higher. I don't think it really matters. It doesn't really matter for billionaires, but yeah.
There are only, 186 of them. It wouldn't be that much work, but too much work for me and this show. But anyway, that was my back of the envelope math. So 100 billion doesn't sound that outrageous of an estimate, given my estimate. Wealth taxes have a bad reputation of not delivering as much revenue as they promise. In fact, basically every government effort of any kind ever has a reputation of costing more and delivering less. Not just government, every product, everything ever bought or sold.
All of human endeavors. Well, better not do anything then, because we could not deliver as much as we promise. We should probably just sit down and be sad.
Exactly. For a quick intro on wealth tax, don't we already have progressive income taxes? Yeah, but if you're a billionaire, then you're not making your wealth off of income. You make it off of mostly unrealized capital gains. and inheritance, which are not taxed, but which are barely taxed. So that's sort of one of the justifications for this. It's just like, what is it that we actually want to tax? Like, why do we tax income progressively? Because we think that people who are better off should contribute more to the nation's finances.
Sure, it's like that's the system. These are the people who benefit the most from the system as it stands, the people who sit on top of it, and should contribute the most to making at least the parts that are good continue to work.
I think there are many moral arguments for why this is true. I feel sorry if I skip over some stuff. Some of the stuff I've thought through and talked through so many times. But yeah, I mean, billionaires benefit from the education system because they employ all these college grads and all these brilliant engineers who did all the work to make them their company that makes them so much money. And they have to thank the American education system for that, right? And the American universities. And yeah, so it makes sense. Also, they have a greater ability to pay, right? So anyway, lots of clear moral arguments why rich people should pay more. Anyway,
they have lucrative contracts with government entities that pay them handsomely.
I don't think this is actually that controversial of a point among normal people. I think most people agree with this. Wealth taxes are much maligned, probably because a lot of these people don't want to pay them. They have a lot of resources to pour into maligning. So I did some quick math. Hey guys, how much, these wealth taxes are targeting billionaires. How unfair. What percentage of your wealth did you pay in taxes last year?
I don't know. I'd have to do math, but
you would have to.
Not very much.
Between my federal, California state income taxes and property tax on my house, I paid about 7% of my wealth in those types of tax last year. So yeah, 5% one time. It seems like a lot, but my taxes seem like a lot to me too. And I think that would be what 5% on a regular basis would be reasonably called their fair share or almost their fair share.
I mean, to be fair, this is an extra tax, right? That's on top of the other taxes they already pay.
That's right. But I mean, so what is Elon Musk's effective tax?
He's paid no taxes, at least a few years.
Mm-hmm.
See, about 10.
I saw him bragging on Twitter that his tax return broke the government computer because there were too many zeros. I mean, that's a straight up lie for sure that he told on the internet. But it might throw off our estimates of how much Elon is paying. I've
got some numbers from 2021. Elon's net worth peaked at about $300 billion, and he paid an $11 billion tax bill. So 11 divided by 3 is a little bit less than 4. And so if you were to slap an additional 5% wealth tax on top of that, then that would be almost 9%, which would be higher than my tax rate. But, richest guy on earth.
He still has more money left over after paying than you do.
Yeah, I think he'd still be getting by. But not an outrageous high tax rate.
This is 2021.
Yes.
You want to hazard a guess as to Tesla's tax bill for that year?
0.
Was that a 0?
0.
It's really not that outrageous of a bill. It's really fair share. I think this kind of thing could exist on a recurring basis if we could get through some of the details. So let's see. Over the next 10 years, federal cuts to Medi-Cal alone, which is California's Medicaid program, are projected to total approximately $190 billion.
Oofda doofda. That is higher than $100 billion, which is their estimate, which we expect to get less of that money.
Right. So
this won't do it, is what it's saying in the bill.
Right. This isn't saying that it will totally cover that. But yeah, and that's over the next 10 years. Anyways, another quote, state cuts to Medi-Cal are estimated to reach $7 billion in 27-28, rising to $8.6 billion each year from 28 and 29 onwards. Not only is the federal government cutting Medi-Cal, the state government is cutting Medi-Cal. It turns out there are large budget gaps in Medi-Cal.
That's what happens when everyone cuts the amount of money they're putting in, I suppose.
There was an article in March of last year that expenses for Medi-Cal ran over estimate by $6.2 billion, which sounds insane. So the 24-25 budget for Medi-Cal was $161 billion.
When you say less than 6%, it sounds more reasonable.
Sure. But I don't exactly have less than 6% of $161. Well, you know what? I actually don't have less than 6% of $161 in my wallet right now, but I don't carry cash on me.
Exactly. Right.
161 billion is what I meant to say.
So the key cost drivers are an increase in pharmacy costs and higher than expected enrollment. According to some updated estimates from the administration, it costs the state about $8.5 billion from the general fund to cover immigrants who are in the country without legal authorization. Also, starting on January 1st, 2024, more seniors were able to sign up for Medi-Cal after the state stopped counting certain assets such as cars and homes and savings when considering someone's eligibility. So basically, Medi-Cal is supposed to be targeting people in need, and they made a more generous definition of that because someone's primary residence maybe shouldn't be reverse mortgage to pay medical expenses, and or maybe grandma shouldn't have to sell her house to pay her medical bills. And unsurprisingly, that means more people qualified, and so the program became more expensive.
I don't know, man. New house on the market. The housing crisis is solved because everyone's grandmas will get put out on the street. That'll teach you to have cancer, Meemaw.
Learn to divide your cells properly, like a young person.
You just get too excited. They go every which way.
I did not know what was the budget of Medi-Cal. Now I do. I didn't know that the state was cutting the budget. I didn't know that there were budget overruns. I didn't know that about 5% of the budget is to ensure people who are illegally in the state or illegally in the country or in the country without legal authorization. $8.5 billion
of the general fund to cover immigrants who are in the country without legal authorization.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a hard. I mean, it's not easy to have social safety net programs that work well, and healthcare. I guess what are some of the takeaways that I took from this? One is that the essential problem in healthcare is costs. And one problem with, costs went up. So one of the key cost drivers, the number one key cost driver was an increase in the cost of pharmaceuticals.
So California should buy stock in Big Pharma, dude. So that way when Big Pharma makes money, the stock goes up and they sell some of the stock to pay some of the increased pharmacy costs.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. One idea, if that's your preferred solution. But I guess this is a problem. What I'm saying is this is a problem that all of our healthcare social safety net is struggling with, is the growing costs of healthcare and the aging population. The math gets harder when things get more expensive. And yeah, at some point, numbers have to add up. What's another takeaway? These cuts, these federal cuts are deep. That's another takeaway. So, $190 billion over 10 years. So that's $19 billion a year. That is, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop. Where was the total?
Are you looking for $161 billion?
Yeah, I was looking for 161. Yeah, so that's more than 10%. It's 12-ish% of
the total
of the total budget for this. That hurts. That's a lot of people who won't be able to get health coverage. The cost piece of healthcare, the public insurers limit the costs of services. Medicare uses its governmentness to make it so you pay less.
Sometimes, they're not allowed to with pharmacy companies by law, or at least Medicare isn't the federal version.
Sure. So for procedures, though, generally Medicare is cheaper or makes you pay less. And I think Medicaid is the same. Stuff like single payer health insurance seems to be helpful in controlling costs in that way. So it's you might think that just throw more money into paying for this really expensive thing that might just increase demand and continue to push prices up. But the way that they cap how much they pay out, at least to providers, I think actually pushes prices down. So anyway, economics are complicated.
Sure. I guess the wish list is getting longer from this ballot initiative, the wealth tax, that's going to put a Band-Aid on about, let's say generously, about half of the open wound that is our failing medical system.
Or you could say like 5 years worth of this open wound. Because
Sure.
they always talk about the cost cuts over 10 years, but the problem persists longer than 10 years.
It's good to talk about these other longer term solutions like single payer healthcare, something we should have established a long time ago and still could make the law of the land in the United States. But for the lobbying of insurance companies and pharmacy companies, we could also have a Chinese style integration of pharmaceutical companies with the single payer healthcare, where the government takes out a large stake in the pharmaceutical companies. So if their consumers are getting screwed over by the medical costs, at the very least, that money in part goes back to the government to pay for the cost of those drugs.
Yeah, see, that's what I was suggesting as a joke, but it turns out it's a
Right.
real thing.
So Danny's jokes
Right.
are China's reality. Yeah.
That's just their model for nationalizing industries. I don't know if they specifically do that with medical companies, but they do it with construction companies.
Yeah. So,
And
yeah.
power.
That's right. So, yeah. Anyway, that was all like a fairly lengthy digression into Medi-Cal and like the budgets and, the big, beautiful bill from public healthcare subsidies in California. I thought it was interesting, and that's kind of the justification given for doing this. I think that wealth taxes are hard to implement. Many of them have been implemented in Europe. Notoriously, several have been rolled back. Here's one thing. I was kind of comparing some aspects of this to Elizabeth Warren's proposed wealth tax, which is like a very serious back from whatever the 2020 campaign when she made a very serious proposal.
Primary.
Yeah, she was in the primary and she had a serious proposal for this because she's a serious person. And yeah, one thing this has in common is, people talk about how, well, okay, billionaires don't, their money isn't liquid, right? They own a company, right? And so if it's not a publicly traded company, then it can actually be a big problem to get 5% of that in cash. And so the bill works around that. They let them tax the payer, whatever, the billionaire, they let them stretch out the payment over 5 years with a 7.5% interest basically annually on that. So that seems very reasonable. And that's also something that Elizabeth Warren had in her wealth tax proposal. And let's see.
7.5% deferral. That seems like a pretty good rate of return from the government's perspective. 7.5% on top of that, if they can get it.
Yeah, I don't know what the IRS charges you for like late taxes. The point is, if you can get your cash like out, you probably would rather just pay the bill, or it hurts to be paying 7.5% interest on $4 billion one year and then $3 billion the next year, or whatever. However, the math wasn't quite right. All right. So that was something that I thought was good about this. Another thing is, another problem that is oft cited about wealth taxes is that, well, people will just leave. It's so easy for billionaires to just leave and go move somewhere else. And that's true.
Yeah, sure. Easy for them to physically move. They have private jets.
Right.
But,
and they can buy a house somewhere else. And this tax is based on residency, which is a little bit complicated to define.
Since it's one time and retroactive, right? They're kind of sidestepping a lot of that.
Exactly. I think a good feature of this in California is that California is the biggest state and in terms of economy, and it's also an extremely pleasant state to live in. We've got fantastic weather, lots of natural beauty. Also, if you're running a business here, lots of highly skilled people in technology and entertainment,
podcasting,
in agriculture.
Yeah.
So
it's not a coincidence that there's 186 billionaires.
Right.
Their companies, with all their people that make them that money, are often in California. So they live here so they can go to work here and get that money.
Like, I like California a lot, and I pay a ton more to be here than I would to be in some cold, rainy place. Anyway, I love other cities, which doesn't mean I haven't thought about moving, right? I mean, sometimes it hurts more than it hurts other times, but this is a consideration that billionaires also like nice weather, and they also like living in a place where they can make their businesses work. So I think that's a big advantage for California in making this tax work. Go ahead.
I have a have a side benefit of this tax that might
Okay.
come to fruition. Let me know if you think this is realistic. In an imagined future where this passes and the billionaires do actually leave like they threatened to leave when Mamdani was elected in New York, which
Mhm.
they of course didn't. So in this case they do leave. They leave their home. They're going to meetings at their big companies remotely. Well, then maybe a side benefit of this is if you work at one of those big companies, maybe you get to do remote work now.
No way,
'Cause
dude.
the boss isn't there to look over your shoulder anymore. Maybe there's more incentive to do more work from home. You might not
Could
get the
happen.
money, but you might be not getting the money from home, which is pretty nice.
I admire your optimism.
Yeah, I think that something like this is like clearly going to have like ripple effects. So yeah, I think that is one of like 100 like things that I bet more than 0 examples of that would happen, Phil. I bet you're right. I don't think it's like en masse, but anyway.
Playing 5D chess over here.
Indeed. Oh yeah. Let's see.
Next moves on next moves.
Yeah, so let's talk about the one-timiness of this. It's unfortunate. It clearly doesn't, fix the problem of the unfairness of our tax code on its own. Whatever, Elon in 2021 paid less than 4% of his wealth in taxes. I paid about 7% of my wealth in taxes. That's unfair. He's not paying his share. We need to fix that. I mean, not to pick on Elon in particular. It's that whole class.
It's okay. He can take it.
Yeah, anyway. And
Famously thick-skinned individual.
Right. And I mean, I'm not like trying to pay high taxes, right? They need to pay more taxes. We have this illusion that this can't be done, in the US, that they've gotten away for decades now, since Reagan, basically. It's only been tax cuts. Like, have new taxes been levied on billionaires in the last 50 years? I don't know. Anyway, it's been going down and down and down. And it seems like we may never change the direction. But I think that just a big in your face, even a one-time thing like this could actually shatter that perception. And yeah, so I don't think that this is fatal, that it's a one-time tax. And yeah, I made those other points earlier. Like, actually it takes away the incentive to dodge it or to attempt to dodge it.
I think it's a nice trial run. I don't know if that fits into this good features section, but it will be proof of concept for more of these taxes to happen in the future if it works.
I agree. And, we were I was talking in my segment last week, I was talking about the California folate fortification laws. It's very common for states to adopt laws, to copy each other's good ideas. And, California adopted a folate fortification law for corn tortillas, and lots of other states followed suit, including Alabama. It's not just a left-wing idea. And so I think taxing a wealth tax it's not impossible that could gain steam in other states around the country also, while our federal government seems to basically be designed to get nothing done at this point. Like, I could see this being picked up by other states, especially if it's successful.
I think it will be popular. I think there's a lot of people who are unhappy at the current state of affairs vis-a-vis, the billionaires, and they're not paying their fair share. So I think it will be an easy sell for some politician if this gets passed and sees any amount of success. Politicians are always looking for something to do, something to fill their day, something to point back to for their next campaign. Be like, look what I did. They're always looking for achievements. This could be a big one. This could be a wave of laws around the states.
Yeah, I think that could actually happen.
Over the dead bodies of centrist Democrats, it feels like they'll never accept that. Look at the reaction to Mamdani, dude. Well, people are losing their minds. Even Democrats are, full on Red Scare.
Right. Yeah.
More on that later this week.
I have no idea how popular this is going to be. It hasn't, as far as I know, collected the required signatures yet. I know Gavin Newsom, California's governor, is opposed. I'm sure lots of people are opposed. I've heard, all my life, I've heard arguments against wealth taxes. It seems like it's the conventional wisdom that, it's just we can't work. It doesn't work. It's, stifles innovation. I'll get to that. Yeah. All the reasons why you can't do this.
All that innovation that seems to be happening these days. Where will it go?
How will I generate like our thumbnails for the news of the week.
From whence shall I get TVs that try to talk to me, fail to understand me, and then permanently put on motion smoothing? Wither the refrigerators with a social media function.
If we start taxing billionaires, dude, they'll stop coming up with great ideas like heated seat subscriptions for your car.
And the metaverse, what we've all been dying to experience.
Jamming gambling ads into every square inch of eyeball space.
Okay. All right. Since I'm me, I was interested in the legal challenges that we might expect to this. Particularly, this idea of a retroactive date seemed like it might not fly. And other commentators have agreed about this. Of course, there will be lawsuits if this passes, lawsuits for anything that passes. But there's a lot of skin in the game. So, there will be well-funded, serious lawsuits if this passes. I found an interesting case that was related to this in the 80s, the United States versus Carlton. Basically, 1986 Congress created an estate tax deduction, and then in 1987 they realized that they had accidentally created a massive loophole, and so they retroactively uncreated that loophole. And so then Mr. Carlton sued because he was an estate planner or an executor of a large estate, and he'd been like milking this loophole, and he was saying that this retroactive tax violated his due process rights. And
can I say,
yes.
I don't like that phrasing. I don't like the mental image of milking a loophole.
Exactly, dude.
Whatever it means, I'm not for it.
Don't milk loopholes.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, to the tune of $2.5 million.
That's a lot of loop.
It's quite a tune.
Ay. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the idea is this. It sure seems unfair to, be going about your business and then to find out, and then whatever, the government sees you do that, and then they're like, that is illegal as of yesterday, and then they, toss you in jail, right? That's pretty
Not
fucked
exactly.
up. I'm not saying that that's what this is.
Thrown in jail.
I'm not saying that that's what this is. But it's
okay.
Throwing his money in money jail, dude. That's even worse.
Do you have any idea how many yachts I could have bought with that money that went for paying insulin?
Money jail. Poor money. But I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is that basic argument seems kind of fair. And in some extreme cases, this could wipe you out, right? People do tax planning, right? This taken to the extreme, could be financially devastating to people. So anyway, he lost, and they were like, yeah, no, it's fine. Congress can do this. So
nice.
That was in 1994.
So it sounds like California can do this then.
Yeah, whatever. Disclaimer: I don't know shit about this. This is just one case
this is
I looked
the
up.
1994 Supreme Court as well. It's pretty different from the 2026 Supreme Court.
That's true. And also, yeah, California, right? So this is the U.S. rules. What about the California rules? I don't know what the California laws are on this. But what about the innovation, guys?
We talked about this a little bit already.
We got excited for it. We love innovation here.
There were two funny billionaire reactions to this. Billionaire reaction number one was Peter Thiel, who immediately claimed that he's been living in Miami this whole time. California,
it's
what?
Interesting that he claimed that because he already paid $3 million for the anti-campaign for this proposition.
He's just trying to save his poor fellow billionaires in California, dude. Riding to their rescue.
That's what billionaires need. Solidarity. If it happens to one of us, it happens to all of us.
First, they came for the 10 billionaires. Then they came for the 5 billionaires. You never thought they'd come for you. 100 millionaires. Anyways, here's another interesting reaction. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, the world's most valuable company by market cap, was asked on Bloomberg what he thought about it. He's a resident of California, a billionaire. I've got to tell you, I've not even thought about it once, he said. We chose to live in Silicon Valley, and whatever taxes they'd like to apply, so be it. I'm perfectly fine with it.
See, this is the problem that Elon has. This is the thing. He tries so hard to act cool, pay people to play video games for him so he can seem smart. All you have to do is just be chill, like this guy, Mr. Huang. I don't care. Just take it all. It doesn't concern me. I'll just keep making money. That's his attitude.
He didn't even call anyone a pedophile.
Yeah. He's got all that money, but you still just can't buy that swag.
Yeah, I have long found this point that like increasing taxes on super wealthy people will crush innovation. I found this to be ridiculous. The most innovative people aren't billionaires. Like there are researchers, engineers, entrepreneurs, like who are in the earlier stages, normal entrepreneurs. They are the innovators, artists, designers.
Yeah, but they would all stop doing that if there's a 5% tax on billionaires, dude, because they're thinking to themselves, like, what if I become a billionaire and then I get taxed an extra 5%? It's all not worth it. I'll just stay in home and eat Cheetos.
Yeah, if you're like actually focused on building amazing new stuff to change things, you're great. I mean, like, I guess the argument that this affects actually innovative people, like that this disincentivizes them, is crazy. It's dead wrong. Now, does it disincentivize investment in those people by billionaires?
Probably still no.
Maybe. Probably still no.
So they have the money, so they would be disincentivized to pay innovators to make more money because they'll just not have the money that they already had.
I'm just looking
I get
at your
it completely.
fingers touching
Makes perfect
each other.
sense.
I didn't hear
gonna
you.
loop
I was
these
just
holes.
Like, what's he doing?
Gonna milk them.
I have loopholes, Greg. Can you milk me?
Right. I guess what I'm saying. Right. So investment money would have to come from somewhere else if you took that money away from the super wealthy, which seems fine.
Or hear me out, as a poor person, you are able to get medical care, right? And then instead of fucking dying, you maybe live another day to invent something. Maybe that increases innovation. Yeah.
I wasn't even getting at the part where people would actually be more able to pursue their dreams if they were better resourced, right? And living a less precarious life.
Luckily, everyone who's listening to this right now is perfectly resourced to leave a comment telling us what they think. Are you in favor?
That's right. So sign yourself up. Sign up your dead neighbor. Sign up or on the petition. No, who else should you sign?
Jensen Huang, apparently, dude. He's fine with it.
And we will take a one-time 5% cut of that comment because it was rich in insight.
Oof. Ouch. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Catch you tomorrow.